Hello, friends. I'm exhausted. Is this the fifth time I've tried to read this book? And is there a car that goes by, a motorcycle that goes by, or I forget to turn on my microphone? This is number 5. So here we go. I guess the fifth time is the charm. Excuse me. Today we are reading another book, another picture book in the Smithsonian's Backyard series. And I want to give you a tiny little clue. We have a woodpecker, somebody's backyard. What are these trees? And then we have a pink house with a little something right in that window. But before we go on, I wanted to see if any of you have watched my video on the other Smithsonian backyard. And here's a little clue on the back of the book. And what is that? Look at those little owlets. They're so cute. This one is called Screech Owl at Midnight Hollow. And that was a fun book. Look at that fierce screech owl. Now we have screech owls where we live. I would love for you, when you guys do go and look at this, if you have owls, if you've actually seen an owl where you live, that's pretty special because they really are nocturnal creatures and they really aren't even out at dusk or dawn. They are tucked in tight both of those times. It is special to be able to see them or to hear them. So if you have, I'd love you to put a thumbs up in this particular book video so I know how many of you could have seen it. I definitely would. I'd be putting a thumbs up because the screech owls that I have seen. I have heard, and I have seen. And it's only been because of car lights. They've, flapped in front of the car or a street light. And I've seen them kind of flap by, but they're so quiet. They're so silent. And they make this little chirping sound to try to find their prey. The owl does. So they're a lot of fun. I'm a geek for an owl. But the other one we're going to read today from the Smithsonian backyard is another backyard animal that we don't have where I live. Although some of the plants that they talk about in this book, we do where I live, in the medium, intermediate, not high, not low desert of Southern California. So we're going to be reading about this guy. Do any of you know what the name of this guy is? It's right there backwards. Gray Squirrel at Pacific Avenue. So Pacific Avenue is the name of the street where the pink house is. And the little clue of fun right there. Let's go ahead and read it. 5th time's the charm, right? We're going to get through it. All right. The October sun pours into the small backyard of the pink house on Pacific Avenue. A furry head pokes out of a nest of small leafy branches high in the live oak tree. Gray Squirrel has just woken up. He scurries out to a branch and startles a kinglet bird, which flies away. Scratching his ear with his hind foot. Do any of you do that when you wake up? Give that a try. Scratching his ear with his hind foot, Gray Squirrel watches white-crowned sparrows feasting on birdseed at the bird feeder. A scrub jay screeches from a manzanita bush, nibbling its dark red berries. Gray Squirrel is hungry too. He leaps through the tree crown like an acrobat. The branches bob under his feet. He hears the familiar bark of the brown dog that lives behind the fence in the yard next door. Gray Squirrel rushes to the ground, spiraling down the trunk head first. Sparrows, birds. And here's a little sparrow. there he is. Lots of sparrows all through the United States. Sparrows crowd the feeder, spilling a few seeds on the grass. Gray Squirrel finds some millet and munches. But above him, the feeder holds even more tasty seeds. He scrambles up the pole. The bird flutters away. One perches nearby and scolds him. So this is the story where he's down on the ground munching the millet. And here is when he's up there in the bird feeder getting scolded by that bird, I'm sure. I'll let you see this picture a little bit better. And Gray Squirrel dips his pointed nose into the bird seed and eats, scattering the seed holes. Too close to the perch's edge, he suddenly slips and loses his footings. He hangs onto the edge of the feeder with one paw dangling. He manages to reach with his other paw and pull himself back up. He's got his one little paw over here. With his keen eyes, he checks the backyard for predators, and the yard looks empty. Gray Squirrel jumps to the ground, but he has made a mistake. He comes nose to nose with an orange cat who is hiding underneath the manzanita bush. The cat's tail twitches. Gray Squirrel bounds towards the oak. The cat springs, but just as he does, Gray Squirrel leaps high onto the tree trunk. The cat springs up the tree. Have you seen cats do that? Oh, they're fast. Oh, they're fast. The cat sprints up the tree, but Gray Squirrel is gone. He has rocketed from the branch, landing on the fence 5 feet away. And when he dives 5 feet away, the cat can see him scurry over the fence into another backyard. With quick breaths, Gray Squirrel darts across this strange lawn. Behind him, the snarling brown dog stands ready to attack. The dog charges, but Gray Squirrel springs up an apricot tree. He hurries through the branches and vaults over the dog's head onto a fence. Along the fence top he runs, finally leaping back onto the oak in his own yard. All this scurrying has made Gray Squirrel hungry. He hears a chipmunk rummaging for acorns in the dry leaves below. The cat is nowhere to be seen. Gray Squirrel scoots down the oak and chases the chipmunk away. Look at that chipmunk. We do not have I have never seen a chipmunk in my life. Not a live one anyways. Not a live real one. The cat is nowhere to be seen, and Gray Squirrel scoots down the oak and chases the chipmunk away. From behind a rock, the chipmunk chitters at him. Gray Squirrel snatches a shiny brown acorn in his paw, and with sharp front teeth, he cuts the hard shell in half and devours the nut inside. After finishing 5 more acorns, he digs a little more in the hole, drops in another acorn, and covers it with earth. He will save this for later in the year. Let's see his sharp teeth. The afternoon sun is hot, and Gray Squirrel is full. He jumps onto the fence for a view of the whole yard. The orange cat is nowhere to be found, and next door, the brown dog has fallen asleep. Pigeons nibble politely at the fallen seeds. And there they are. Boy, this backyard is busy, isn't it? Gray Squirrel raises his tail over his head for shade. Then he licks his front paws and washes his nose and ears. He combs his fur with his teeth and claws, and the backyard is actually at peace. We can see that. Screech! The screen door flies open, and the pigeons scatter. Out of the house bounds that orange cat. And over the top of the fence, Gray Squirrel freezes. His enemy spots him and pricks up his ears. He leaps onto the fence, ready for some fun. There we go. Gray Squirrel searches for an escape. He springs to the oak, spreading all 4 feet wide. He flattens his body and stretches his bushy tail behind him like a parachute. He glides to a small branch and climbs to a higher limb. The cat jumps to the base of the tree, watching. Gray Squirrel fluffs his tail, holds it straight up behind him, and quickly flicks it. Tick, tick. He stamps his feet. The orange cat crouches to spring up the tree. Ruff, ruff. The brown dog suddenly charges through a loose board he had discovered in the fence, and the cat hisses. The dog growls. They whisk around the base of the tree until the cat makes a dash to the front yard, and the dog follows close behind. Gray Squirrel watches calmly from his lofty limb. He takes a deep breath. Finding a comfortable spot, Gray Squirrel relaxes, spreading his body out on the branch with his tail draped over his back. Then he closes his eyes for a peaceful rest high in the live oak tree in the backyard of the pink house on Pacific Avenue. And there he is, taking a nap in the afternoon. That is a lot going on in that book. Wow. No wonder he's so tired. So this book is over, but they have a little paragraph in the back about not a story of a gray squirrel, but of real gray squirrels. So now's the time if you'd like to stop the video. Otherwise, you can stay for another 2 minutes, and I am going to read about gray squirrels. Here we go. Gray squirrels live throughout the eastern United States and have been introduced on the West Coast. They are found in forests, parks, and backyards where food is plentiful. With a diet consisting primarily of seeds, nuts, fruits, and insects, gray squirrels often store food for times of shortage by burying nuts in the ground. They locate them again through a highly developed sense of smell. Appropriately named, gray squirrels have fur that blends with the gray bark of the tree in which they live, helping to protect them from predators. Their large, bushy tails are used for balance, to signal other animals, and for warmth in the winter. Best known as an acrobat, Gray squirrels can leap up to 4 feet from the ground to a tree trunk. They could run along the top or bottom of branches, and can even hang by their hind feet. When they jump long distances, up to 12 feet from tree to tree, they spread out their bodies with their tails flattened for balance. So there's a little bit more information about gray squirrels. I hope you enjoyed this ruckus, fun afternoon in this backyard, and we'll talk to you later.